So what we're looking at today is how do I best manage risks and increase reward through the use of efficient interventions and transitions. So reviewing a little bit, let's think about what's an intervention that you've learned.
Belay takeover.
So belay takeover is an intervention. And then what's an example of a transition? We haven't talked about that word a lot, but just think about in climbing, when do we transition?
Switching to like a new climber?
Yeah, well, so especially if I usually think of transitions as I'm doing one thing, I'm going to go to another. So like I'm in the belay takeover, if I take the belay over, that's an intervention. The transition would be if I ascend the rope. So I'm belaying, and now I'm going to ascend the rope. Or in recreational climbing, the big one is I climb to the top, and I want to rappel down. So I'm lead climbing, and then my transition is to rappel. So interventions are somehow we need to insert ourselves into the situation to put a new participant in, to put ourselves in, to put a new device in. And then transitions are going from one mode of operation, like belaying, to rappelling. Or another one would be you lead climb, get to the top, you set up an anchor, and then you're belaying the person up to you. So research shows those points of interventions and transitions are an opportunity for us to make mistakes, right? And those can be catastrophic. So we have to be careful when we're doing those changes. So so manage risks during those. I think that kind of is intuitive, makes sense. I get to the top, I need to rappel myself down. It's all kinds of things we do to manage those risks. Do an auto block on our system, double check before we unhitch ourselves from the anchor, that type of thing. What do I mean by increasing reward? Like, why do we use interventions and transitions to increase the reward? If you think back, for those of you that were here, the first class, which is 2 of you, those 4 things we talked about: the reward of the participant, the risk, the safety of the participant, the reward of the guide, instructor, and the safety of the guide. So how does interventions and transitions increase reward?
Are you asking how efficient interventions and transitions increase reward, or just
How they do it in general? Like, how do they increase the reward for the guide or the participant?
Maybe like through an intervention you can help artists make it to the top.
Yes. Yeah, so like a 3, okay, right. Yeah. And if you do a 3-to-1 pulley at the top, you can get them through a section, and then they can get to the top of the climb, and potentially you can keep multi-pitch climbing. So the reward is huge for that participant. Because you think of a participant that can't get up, that can be discouraging at the least, or it could even feel shameful at some level, like, oh my gosh, I can't even climb this climb. But if you can get them through that section, they get to the top and they're excited and they get the view, and then they can keep climbing up the rest of the route. That's really fun. Yeah, so that's one place where the reward increases. And we've talked about this before. Oftentimes as rock guides, we're thinking about the actual climbing part, but for participants, it could be the rappelling. So that transition from climbing to rappelling, if we make that smooth and they have fun doing it, then they're increasing their reward. You look unsure.
me?
Yeah.
I'm just tired.
Okay, awesome.
Fall asleep.
Okay.
It's not that I'm unsure.
Okay, we're going to keep wrestling with this as we go forward. So just reviewing really quickly what we talked about in the Mazama gym. Any takeaways from that, things you remember that we did?
I want to repeat the question or the comment because they can't hear you.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So reviewing Mazamas, what was the main takeaways for you? Thinking about base management, anything there that you like was new to you, or?
I just want to keep everything in a line.
Yes.
Like if you anchor to the ground,
Good.
Like have it twist around you or something.
Yep, so ABC, so if you have a ground anchor, it comes up to the belay device and then goes up to the climber and back down. That's all in line. That's good, yep.
Do you have a handheld backup belay, having them sit rather than stand?
Yes, Again, helps you with the alignment of it. Yep. Mm-hmm. This is good. Try to get the cobwebs out of our brains here. We talked about like a big place is like pulling slack out of the system, making sure it's tight when it starts. Talked about catastrophic knots, so there's a backup in the system. Position of the belayer is huge, so if the right hand at the left hand's in front, so if they go into the wall, they brace with the left, they break with the right. We talked about advantages, disadvantages of gree-grees and tubular devices. So where's the gree-gree the most dangerous?
It gives people a false sense of security.
Yes, that's true, yes. And so they get a little sloppy with their belaying. That's really good, yep.
And then I guess the lowering.
Yeah, and so that's a transition, right? That happens. Like, so the climber's going up and they're about to lower. So that's a moment as a guide or a friend that I want to like, I'm going to be especially alert. If I have those catastrophic knots in, then as they start to lower, I'm pulling those out. And if they've yanked it wide open and I'm not right there, my hands aren't right on it, I have a chance that the climber's stopped. So that's important. And then we did the actual belay takeovers. And any takeaways from that, like we're going to do that again here as part of this, but things you remember about the actual takeovers. You remember the first step?
I was going to say, step one.
Step one is
The catastrophic knot.
Yep, and it's actually backing up that catastrophic knot. Typically, as the guide, we do it right to our belay loop with a locking carabiner. So if the first thing you do, even if you're not planning to go up in the air, if all you're doing is inserting a different device or you're inserting a different person into the system, you put it onto your belay loop typically. There are lots of different ways to do this, but I'm trying to keep it one way at this point, and then we'll kind of build on that. But so you have the backup knot goes into your belay loop. You may remember what the next one is.
The climb heist.
Climb
Climb
heist goes on.
And then you weight the rope.
Then you can weight the rope, yep, because you have the diaper hitch,
Oh,
clip to the climb heist. But I usually put the belay device in before I weight. So I put my belay device or I put the other person's belay device into the system. And we'll go through.
Wait, how would you? Oh, this is for unweighted.
No, it's below. So if they're belaying.
Oh, yeah, you put below that.
Yeah, And we'll go through it here again if you're not quite picturing it. So you put the belay device in, and then I can, if it's a weighted belay takeover, I can then take the weight on that prusik and pull down, and then I can remove the belayer's device and put my device into the lock position and take it over. So all we're adding today is the counterbalance ascent, just meaning whenever we're belaying, we're counterbalancing. Is that true? That's not true. Whenever we're belaying from the ground in what's called a yo-yo, sometimes called the yo-yo belay, so it's a top rope belay situation, then we're counterbalancing. If we're top managing, if we're at the top of the cliff, then we're not counterbalancing. Yeah. But we're going to counterbalance ascend to our participant, our friend, our client, whatever it is, whoever it is, and then we're going to counterbalance lower. So does someone want to be the person that's up in the air? Okay. Okay. So you're just tying in, figure eight, follow through, and then I need somebody to be the person that's belaying. Grant. Okay.
And your belay device.
Yep. And I will give you. I think I'll just give you an ATC.
An anchor up there.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I'll just do. Okay. So reviewing why we do this. The person's up in the air climbing. What would be a situation that we would want to go up in the air? We want to take over the belay and counterbalance, ascend to that person.
Just to support them emotionally.
Yes. Okay. So emotional support's awesome. Coaching is the place I've used it the absolute most. And I absolutely loved it. It just opened it up. Like instead of thinking of it as just a rescue technique, it was like, oh, I can go up in the air, I can stand next to them and talk with them. It's been huge for me as a guide. And as a father, actually, the place that I've used it a lot is like my kids. Like I can go up there, like stand next to them. Yep. So injuries, the other place, I think more, if you think about more like a recreational climber, the person's sport-led, and for whatever reason, they're injured and can't be easily lowered, then we can use this intervention and transition to get to them. Okay. So you're going up in the air, just if you get up to like the second to last rung and you're playing, everybody, the system should be checked, make sure, yeah, we got everybody. Yep.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Pretty tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. This is hard climbing here. Yeah. And
Just
then,
kind of fall off.
yeah, just double check, make sure those are locked. Yep. Okay, so, and Molly, he's going to pull you up, so just come straight underneath because there's almost no friction in this system. Okay, then you're just going to wait. Yep. And then since there's a camera watching us, I'm going to try to turn you. Okay. Yes, okay. Okay, so we're walking through this together. Garrett, my first step is?
First you want a catastrophic.
Yep, so I'm doing catastrophic knot. This is a locking HMS. And then Grant, the next one. Next step is, this Grant, oh yeah. I guess I could ask Grant that's up in the air.
Maybe like climb height.
So climb height's going on. So right now, if Molly lets go, catastrophic knot's in place, so I'm good there, except it'd be very jarring, exciting, thrilling for Grant. Okay, so climb heist is in place. And then Paige.
You want to put a sling on that basket.
Yep, so there again, there's different ways to do this.
What's it called? The
Basket hitch. But you may find like you don't need a 4-foot sling. You're going to see this when you experiment with it. It just works decently well for me at my height, so I just do a basket hitch.
Is that also known as a diaper hitch?
It is also known as a diaper hitch, yes. They're interchangeable. Horseshoe is also another name for it. I think there's 3 or 4 names for almost every climbing thing. Okay, so now I'm here, and maybe go up to you. Do you remember what's next?
You take the weight.
I could take the weight. This is what Grant also said. I typically don't do that right here. I do something else first. I put the belay device in, yeah. Yep. Are you doing okay, Molly?
Yeah.
Okay. You okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. So I put the belay device in, making sure the climber side is up to the climber. Okay, so now I can take the weight of the rope and then you can let go. And then I can get slack into her system. She's competent, she can unclip that, yep. My brake hand is on. So I'm here. Okay, so I just did that little hop, which you guys gotta practice, to take the weight onto the gree-gree. I still have the backup in place, so if I want to right here, I could go hands off, and then I can transition the diaper hitch out. And I always hate it when ladders get in the way when you're climbing. I just know as I start going up, I'm going to swing a little bit. So I can use that as a step, and then I'm up. So I'm beginning to counterbalance Ascent to him. Have you dropped?
Not really.
Yeah. So you can kind of see how good I do this. I'm just grabbing the rope, using my foot to push up. I break that climb heist right at that joint there, and it slides right up. I get that to a comfortable spot, and I'm trying to get my leg right underneath as I come up, so I can just use as much of my leg as possible. So that is the counterbalance ascent. Okay. It's super nifty. As I go up, so I went up, I don't know how many feet, 6 feet there. So it's a little early, but just for practice, I want to see you guys put a backup knot in. So then you can go hands off. And for the counterbalance lower, I just move the climb heist to his side. If he's injured, I can stay super close to him. If he's not injured, I can just do a girth hitch here. And you'll see what happens here. So I girth hitched to my belay loop. I'm on the climb heist.
Why did you go to your belay loop, not your hard points with the girth hitch?
Mostly because it's easier. And that's a good question. I gotta think about that a little bit. I mean, yeah, let me think on that a second. But mostly it's convenience, I think. So now I'm beginning to lower, right? I'm not taking his weight yet, so he's not injured, but he's a little like nervous, or I've coached him a little bit and he's gotten frustrated and he just wants to come down. So you can see at that point, now I'm below him and I can come down. And then I'm still counterbalancing him. Even though I'm on the ground. So brake hand remains on. And then I'm bringing him the rest of the way down. So